So welcome back to this course on learning module development. So in the previous section, we talk about or we summarize what we learned in our previous course. And now we proceed to the formal start of the course. So before we continue, let me just give you an interesting quote. Online, you get to know your students' minds, not just their faces. So this quote strike me because basically a lot of people think that when they proceed to online learning or online teaching, there becomes less personalization. But actually, with online tools, and if you blend this one with offline classroom instruction, you have the opportunity to learn more about your students. Because a big chunk of your activities like attendance checking and the rest can become automated. And like sending personalized emails can be done via email or messenger, and you could conduct or you could teach anytime, anywhere. So this gives you more time to get to know your students. So with online tools plus your offline instruction, you are able to learn more about your students and build a better relationship with them. So I guess that is also a really good mindset as we go through this course. As I've mentioned in this course and in previous courses, it's important that you have the proper paradigm before you learn something new, so that you will also be given or you'll be motivated to pursue or to implement what you've learned. So again, I hope this quote struck you as how it struck me when I was going through or when I was preparing this course. So let me talk about blended learning. So I've mentioned blended learning a while back. So blended learning is an approach to learning that combines face-to-face and online learning experiences. So ideally, so both online and offline, will complement the other by using its particular strength. So you're now used to teaching inside the classroom. So if you now blend or if you include online tools into the equation, it is expected that you also become a better teacher. So that's the beauty of blending offline and online approaches. So there are several types of blended learning, and you'll be surprised that some of the things that you do now in school are actually types of blended learning. So let's go over the 6 common types of blended learning in this video. So the first one is station rotation blended learning. So the primary characteristics of this one is that there's a fixed schedule that guides the blending. So it's further defined as a model that allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule, where at least one of the stations is an online learning station. So this is similar to when you are in college and you as a class go to different classrooms in different colleges just as part of your curriculum. So this model is most common in colleges, and because teachers are already familiar with the rotating in centers and stations, and that your classes are held in different colleges. So this is similar to the next type of blended learning, which is lab rotation blended learning. So what differentiates station rotation blended learning is that in lab rotation learning, so allows students to rotate through stations on a fixed schedule, similar to the first one, the first type. So however, there is a dedicated computer lab that allows for flexible scheduling arrangements with teachers. So unlike the first one, wherein there's a fixed schedule where you as a class go to the computer laboratory, in the lab rotation blended learning, there's a certain computer laboratory wherein students could go at their own time. Okay, so that's lab rotation blended learning. So they don't necessarily go there together as like when what you did in college. So the third type of blended learning is remote blended learning. So this is characterized by students working at home remotely and independently. It is further defined as the students focus, a blended learning that students focus on completing coursework while only meeting with the teachers intermittently as needed. So a bulk of their learning, their studying happens inside the school, and they only meet the teacher in school when needed, okay, or on a regular basis. So that's the remote blended learning. So remote blended learning, this is where online tools become very, very important. The next type of blended learning is the so-called flex blended learning. So it's characterized by its versatility to meet the needs of a variety of formal and informal learning processes. So this happens for those out-of-school youths who had to go to school or who weren't able to complete some courses. So they have to go to school on their own schedule. So this also happens for those adults who were not able to complete high school or finish elementary. So they basically go to a flexible blended learning approach wherein they could still keep their jobs or work at home and complete some of their courseworks mostly at home. So that's a flex blended learning. So you now have the fifth type, which is the flip classroom blended learning. So it's characterized by the retention of traditional learning forms in new contexts. So studying at school and learning at home. So with our current approach here in the country, students go to the school to learn together with their peers and with their teachers. And they go home and study on their own. So under a flipped classroom, students learn at home. So they do most of their coursework at home, and go to the school and study, do their assignments. So there's a flipping. So the venue change. So learn at home, study at school. So with our current paradigm or approach, most of the learning happens in school and studying happens at home. Self-study happens at home. So that's currently flipped under a flipped classroom blended learning approach. And finally, the last blended learning approach is individual rotation blended learning. So this is characterized by the personalization of student learning as determined by individual schedules that have the chance to better meet the needs of each student. So this is very similar to your station blended learning approaches that we mentioned, number 1 and number 2. However, the difference is that unlike the first two blended learning approaches that we discussed, wherein there's a fixed schedule, individual rotation blended learning will heavily depend, their schedule will heavily depend on their individual competencies. So remember, in the fixed station blended learning approach, basically you have a schedule that you have to follow and you go there to the classroom as a class or as a group. But under individual rotation blended learning, you have to determine, or the teacher or as computer software will determine what kind of classes would fit you without waiting or without being together in a group. So it's heavily personalized. So you have a playlist. So think of it as if you have your favorite songs, and as you develop your playlist, you develop also your competencies in that particular genre or particular skill set when we're talking about the blended learning approaches. So this is highly personalized, and some countries in the world, like in Finland, they're actually trying to do this one in their schools today. So they don't call it individual rotation blended learning. They have a more simple term for that, which I forgot. But you could do a search and you could look into the model being used in Finland, whereby really the teachers adjusts to what the child wants to learn about. And so the teachers basically are supportive of what the child wants to learn. And as he or she developed skill sets or the basic or foundational skill sets, say for example, he or she wants to learn how to cook, then basically the teachers would inculcate their mathematics, science, biology towards a certain goal of the child learning how to cook. So that's a really highly personalized teaching model, and it's already being done in some countries, and particularly in Finland. Okay then, so I hope you had fun. I know it probably you're still a lot confused. You're still confused about some of the items here, but what you have to remember here is that blended learning gets the best of both worlds, and you as a teacher need to be able to learn how to blend those approaches so that it will improve the learning experience for your students. Okay then, I hope you got value in this video. I hope to see you in the next topic.